Hello, gentlemen. Hello, Van. Hello, Patrick. How you guys are doing today?
We're doing good.
Doing great.
You had yesterday a Bandcamp uh, listening party, right?
We did, yeah. That was last night. Yeah, we had the whole album stream for the first time.
Oh crap, I missed that to be honest. Did you get any reactions?
Yeah, we did. We actually got a lot of reactions, and we even had some listeners tune in from various parts of Europe where it was 4 and 5 in the morning. They got up or stayed up all night to listen to our album for the first time. There were some like people we recognized, some long time supporters of the band, but also some new people that said they'd been fans for years, that wanted to get a first listen of the album, the world premiere of the full album stream. So yeah, it was great.
Free coffee for everybody who joined from Europe then.
Seriously, it was I couldn't believe it, man. Like there was a few people, yeah, they were like it's 4 a.m. I got up early. Like, dude, that's insane. And also, thank you.
Excellent. So, Cult of the Serpent Sun is the band's third record. And you know the cliche. They say that this is the most important release. So, did you do anything differently this time to achieve that status?
Um, we definitely had more touring experience on our belts anyway with this one. The first album came the week of the pandemic, basically, and then the second album came at the end of the pandemic. So the first two albums were very isolated, and we had done live shows before the pandemic and all that. But the big change here is that we go to tour, we go to share the stage with many bands, and we get to meet all these people around the country that our music has a connection with. So there's a great sense of community in this album. I know that for us it manifested as a cult, but the truth is that we feel that we belong in a community of bands and of fans for the first time as a unit.
Yeah. We saw you guys in Hell's Heroes last year, and it was, I mean, it was the perfect festival for Nite, I believe.
It was our
The
yeah, it was
Atlantic, I will
our
add.
second time playing it. So yeah, we're happy to be there. Sorry, I don't mean to talk over you.
No, no, no. That's okay. So, Patrick, your drumming, for your drum, did you try something differently, even for the sound? I know that Van did the production, the recording, the mixing, but did he let you change anything?
Let me. No, like Van and I work really closely together to identify drum sounds kind of pre-production. So we work a lot on, demoing a lot of drums, trying a lot of different drum patterns for the same riff. And then when it comes to actually getting the sound for the record, Van is very meticulous about drum sounds, which is great, which I love, and that's what I want. So we spend a lot of time trying different miking techniques, trying different drum, sounds to get the most cavernous sound for the toms, the most impactful like crack, high end, but with like a lot of body for the snare. But really, all we're trying to do is capture what my drums actually sound like.
Mhm.
I play pretty big drums. I play a brass snare drum that's 6.5 by 14. So it has a little more depth and a little more body and personality. So it's just how do you capture what the drums actually sound like, which is much harder than it sounds.
So what I believe I hear, where I believe I hear this is in the Mystic in the beginning. First of all, are you using any keyboards there, or is it just effects?
We do use keyboards. To be honest with you, we use a lot of keyboards since the first album, but they take a very background role in the album. So yeah, for that song, the funny thing is that yeah, not so many people know that I'm a music teacher at the middle school, and I was spending a lot of time, in the middle school with all the school instruments like adding like glockenspiels and like xylophones and all that. So there's a lot of instruments going on in the background of that. So there's also a choir, and there are also synths. Yeah, I do. I'm a very big synth person, so I love synths and all that. It doesn't really fit that much in our style yet. Wink, wink. I don't know. We'll see about that. What's in this in the future, but yeah, lots of synths. There's a choir. There are lots of like mallets and stuff like that. There's a lot going on in that song, anyway.
And in the start, this is where I think I hear what Patrick was talking about, the cavernous sound. Like you can hear the drums, drag a little bit the sound. So that's at least my non-unprofessional ears here. What about the guitars? I think, again, or I believe I should say that there are more melodies in the riff. So what you and Scott, how you started working on this? Is this something that just happened?
We didn't change anything in the way we write songs and record guitars that much. What did change is that Scott had a greater role in the writing of the leads in this album, and that was really nice. Like that gave us a third dimension in there in the guitars, and actually made we had like trade-off sections that we didn't really used to do before. So yeah, for me that having Scott find his voice in this band at least, and come up with his own melodies brought something new. It's all about like when we work on a song, we have an idea, we're talking about something, we think about the song, what it means to all of us, and the interpretation that each one of us brings, it's priceless, because it's like every one of us has a different voice, and that's the whole point of being a band, like everybody coming and forming this unity anyway, and bringing their own voice on the table. So yeah, that is the big change anyway.
But again, I think that comes from the touring experience that Van was talking about. Since we played
Exactly.
so many more shows together, and live, Van and Scott trade leads and solos, and I think just that confidence that we all built around everyone else's playing, and sort of wanting everybody else to sort of carry like a larger, brighter torch on the record, really kind of allowed Scott to like write some pretty amazing leads in there. Like there's some great stuff that's just counter to what Van's doing, and it, like you said, like Van's saying, that really rounds the personality of the band out more, because it's not just one person soloing, or not one person writing leads. The different color and shade of different players really allows it to be, I think, that much more mature sounding.
That's important, what you're describing. And it sounds to me like you guys worked as a band rather than one person writing everything and then bringing the rest to set opinions, right?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, we tried to do that from the start, to be honest with you, but we had a lot of obstacles. Like, as I told you, like the first album was something that I had been working on before I met the guys, and we finalized when we all came together. Then we were isolated. Like, we didn't really meet during the Cronian Moon process. So we did meet on Zoom like every week, and then we would go in the studio, like each one on their own and do their parts, but it was so weird. Like we didn't play as a unit. So that was our first opportunity to actually be a band in the studio.
So did you all guys get into the studio and record the album at the same time, or again, different days, I should say?
So yeah, it was of course overdubs, but we did get to practice the songs. Like we did get to play them as a unit a lot, and we also played them live before we before we actually put them on the album, which was great because we saw what was working and what wasn't. And I think we also, I mean, we did that with the previous album too. I think before the pandemic, we played some songs that we've never used. So we did play live some songs that never made it to the album. Yeah, and we did make adjustments in like length and tempos and parts and all that, which was amazing that we got that chance to do that.
And I think that, but the part that Van's leaving out here is that he will demo hundreds of songs sometimes and show them to the band, and we have to sort of like narrow the focus, which is it's a great exercise. Like being a good editor is really hard, and most musicians are really bad at it. I'm not saying we're great at it, but we're learning. But like we get to look at a kind of really broad spectrum of different sounds, different styles, different tempos, different colors. And then we kind of get to edit down what we think is going to work. Then we get to try it in the room as a band, a full band, trying the ideas, which the band said changes everything. You think something's going to work in a demo, and then you play it and you're like,
Nah.
that's not it. But then you find something else, then you find things that are unexpected that really work well that you had no idea were gonna happen. So I think with this record, we really got the chance to like road test things in the room, see what was working, and then we knew exactly what was going to end up on the record. And it was, again, I think it shows a lot more confidence and a lot more just kind of like growth in our abilities as a band, especially when it comes to composition. I think the composition of the record are much better.
Yeah, it takes a lot of professional maturity, I should say, to decide what works and what doesn't. Because when we create something, it's difficult to accept criticism. So what you are saying is working collectively, that reflects to me as band maturity, right? That sometimes we don't see that.
Totally.
Especially when we have strong characters. Speaking of things doing on your own, so Van, you did the production, mixing, mastering. First of all, how easy is it to say, okay, I'm done. This is the end. I should stop working and not... I see Patrick laughing. Did I hit a chord?
It's a process.
Yeah, it's tough for someone to be a musician and an engineer. It's tough, but for me, this is my personal journey. Like I started down that path, going to school for engineering and working in studios all these years for that reason, because I do think that production is part of the songwriting process. Like, I don't know, not so many people think about that, but for me, like my idols are like, Zappa and whatnot, like, like Peter Gabriel and all that. So for me, it is part of it nowadays. So the hard part is that you don't pay for it. Like I can work unlimited amount of hours for myself and for my band. That's the pitfall there. But at some point, we have to say this is it. I have other things to do. I have to focus on doing the next album and whatnot. This is tough. Yeah, it's a mental exercise.
Okay, Patrick, what is Van hiding?
He's not hiding anything. He's actually he's very honest, and he's very process oriented, which I really appreciate. Like it's not a free for all. It's not, when I say like he demos hundreds of songs, it's not just like chaos. Like you hear intention behind each song, and our job, I think, as the band is to help, again, narrow that, pick out things we like, or like, oh, that lead is really great, or that section's awesome. I can hear a bridge here. Like we use the demoing process as it's a tool, just like the studio is a tool. Like, Van's saying, the studio is another instrument. It's another tool to help you express what your band sounds like. So I think we know that, there's very distinct sort of phases, right? And now for the fourth album, we're deep into the demoing phase, even though the third album's not out yet. We're already demoing the fourth record because we know how long it's going to take to craft a really good fourth album. We know it's going to take years, potentially, maybe, hopefully less. But I think we've kind of developed a rhythm as a band where we kind of understand that it takes time to make a really good piece of art, so we want to give ourselves that time and allow ourselves that freedom to make the best statement that we can at that moment. And just really, I think last night when we premiered the record on our Bandcamp listening party, it was very strange for me personally, because I've been living with these songs for years already, and to me they're not new, but having people react to hearing a song for the first time, and the things that they're saying mirroring exactly kind of what we were thinking, like, oh, like this, I hear this in this sound or this melody, or it sounds like we were getting a lot of sort of cinematic responses. People like, oh, this feels very cinematic and very atmospheric, and like things that we talked about in the room when we were writing and demoing, and that's really, I think, rewarding, and we feel very grateful that what we're trying to communicate is actually coming through to people. It's very satisfying.
You mentioned a couple of times 100 demos. So still, no, I'm getting somewhere. Still, the album clocks around 37 minutes, like the previous one. So first of all, I appreciate the vinyl records duration, right? It's really old school and I love it. So how do you guys say, okay, we have that amount of music and we want to squeeze everything or reject some to use in the final records?
You want to go?
Go for it, but
My take on it, and Van may not agree, is that again, like it's a good exercise to try to be a really great editing machine. Like you sort of have to turn your mind off and turn your emotions off and just be able to hear something for what it is. So like my personal experience with that is my day job is I'm a graphic designer and I went to design school. And in design school, the most important thing you learn is how to critique and how to be critiqued. And if you're good at that, if you can learn that skill to like, because critique is only to make something better. Like that's the point of a critique. Like if you show me something and I have feedback for you and you're open to hearing that feedback, we're now two people working together to make that piece of art that much better. And if you can accept that and actually take that and make something you never would have thought of prior to talking to me, then it's a good thing. So I think having that that process of really being able to critique something well and know what the end goal is, which for us, we want to make an enjoyable piece of art that works in the year 2025. And you know what? Like we love vinyl. It's a good format. It's an established format, you know? And so it's kind of like we don't need to make an hour-long record. You know, our first album ended up being a double album. We received some criticism for that, which, you know, in a way was fair, right? Like it's like we had a lot of music, we had a lot to say, but I think we took a step back from that and looked at a lot of the reviews and a lot of the feedback we were getting, and we kind of said, yeah, maybe we don't need to write 6-7 minute songs. Maybe we don't need to write, you know, a 50-60 minute album. Let's try to write a 40-minute or less album, a 38-minute album. And Van has talked a lot about 8 songs. 8 songs as being this like kind of like crystal goblet of like, yes, this is what we're trying to get to. And like again, like I think it's good to have a sort of objective goal, right? And then you'll know when you get there. And if it's the right amount of songs and the right amount of time to say what you need to say, great.
Can we teach someone to accept criticism? I think this is a personality trait. Either you have it or not.
But I would argue that you can train yourself to be accepting of criticism because you understand it's going to make you a better artist. And when you understand and accept that, I don't mean to get, you know, philosophical or metaphysical or anything, but like it's a therapeutic thing too. Like I think allowing people to really have objective critique on your work, and you can transcend something, because if you're only one person and you think you're right about everything, you're only going to get so far. That's a pretty low ceiling.
As long as the criticism doesn't come from the social or the internet sources, right?
we know where to source our criticism. Yes, and we're very specific.
So, is there any concept that connects the lyrics of the album?
It's definitely not our concept album, but it definitely has what the songs have in common is that they all were written in that phase of the band and in that point in time. So what was going on in the world played a big role here, and one of the most prominent things that happened, in my opinion at least, is the war in between Russia and Ukraine, and how that started, and all the nonsense that unfolded afterwards anyway. And for sure that thing personally had a big impact on me, and like thinking about, you know, all those people who suddenly found themselves in a war zone because someone decided that they had to go through that, and all the nuclear threats, and you know that whole existential idea of that we are gonna destroy ourselves, which we're kind of doing, if, you know, anyway, with our attitude towards the universe anyway. Anyway, so that yeah, all these songs were written during that time, and of course there are always personal things that happen during that time. For example, I became a father, so that had a very big. Thank you. That had a very big impact. Nobody cares about that, and I don't expect anybody to care about that, but I care about that, and it was a very important part of my life, making that transition from being a single full like a a person like to becoming a responsible for a tiny creature, and yeah, that had a profound impact on me. Similar things happened in the previous album cycle, of course, right? So yeah, all these things have were infused into the album coming from me. So for Pat, other things happened, and for the other guys too. So we all brought those experiences, and we created that art anyway.
So the lyrics is also the band's creation, or someone Van write the lyrics and then you accept feedback from the other guys?
I tend to write a lot of scratch lyrics because I just demo vocals, but I'm not a native speaker, and even though I live abroad for so many years, like I sometimes I say stupid things, and there's all and the guys of course go through them, make changes, and sometimes I have just like a placeholder words there, and we need to come up with something better, and the guys have all these ideas, so. I would say it's a collaborative process. Maybe Pat says that I do a little bit more lyrics than the guys, but it's definitely not my own thing.
But I think it's similar to the demo process musically. It's their demo lyrics, and then we just help edit and refine and just again, like we just try to make them better. Each pass at a new demo, each time we get into the room and play a song, each time we change a word or shift a phrase, like we're just trying to chisel, that marble away to find the beautiful sculpture.
Marble. I like that you use marble.
Yes. I'm trying to play to my audience here, to the Greeks. But interestingly, like what Van's saying, like because he's not a native speaker, like again, like I see that as an advantage. Like I think that's great. As a native English speaker, I like when bands that did not, their lyricists did not grow up speaking English. They have their ESL. They phrase things differently. It becomes a little more interesting, like I'm a fucking white dude from Ohio. Like, what am I gonna say that's like going to be interesting? Like, it's not. So like, it's just embracing a different perspective or a different way of phrasing something or saying something. I think it creates a lot more interest. Like, and so we try to sort of utilize that and take advantage of it, and we try to not tease Van too much for his misunderstanding of some of the English language, which is a hard language. I'm not talking shit. Like English is a stupid language. It makes no sense. So thank you for learning our dumb language.
Well, to be honest, and I'm serious here, the different pronunciation adds color in the lyrics, in the singing.
Thank you.
It's an instrument too. So
agree, 100% agree.
But I have to ask, you have Winds of Sokar, right? This is a reference to the ancient Egyptian sun god? God, not sun.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
Okay, and then who is Tarmut then?
So yeah, no, for me, Sokar and Tarmut are just made up names for this little universe that we created in its song. It's it doesn't necessarily mean something specifically. Something we came up with, same way that Tolkien came up with I don't know, all his funny words for things. Like we just created these fictional places as a vehicle for the lyrics and the story.
But I'm getting somewhere with this. So in that song, Tarmut, there is a line that says, "Bring me the heart of the sun." Okay, so bear with me. Thinking about Dawnbringers into the lair of the sun god. Someone wanted to murder the sun. So I'm thinking, what these guys have against the sun?
Well, go for it. I want to say that the first people who tried to murder the sun, I think, were Pink Floyd. In the recent times, they tried to crush their ship in the heart of the sun, right? So, for me personally, that's a reference to these dudes. And of course, the sun is a central figure is a central image for the album, and whatever that means for all of us, the sun, like we wouldn't be here without that thing up there. So
Yeah.
I have a much less serious answer, which is as a ginger and a fair-skinned person, I fucking hate the sun, man. Like if I could only go out at night and just bask in the moonlight, it just my skin is way too sensitive. I'm not equipped to be in a harsh, sunny landscape. So that's why I live in San Francisco, where it's foggy and cold all the time, and I love it. It agrees with me. But the Dawnbringer connection is interesting, and it's interesting you brought it up. And in the songwriting, I think Scott and I both talked about that. And also, it's like those are fun little moments that when someone, like you picks up on that, it's great. It's like a little Easter egg that we're sort of, we're putting out there. It's not intentional, but it's like if somebody notices, cool, that's great. Something to talk about.
Good. At least you don't have anything except you, Patrick, against the sun.
I do.
Okay. So you have one music video out for Crawford the Nite. Did you have any input on the visuals? I mean, we see the person at the center being the cult leader, and then they are wearing a Plague's Doctor mask. So what's happening?
Do you want to answer that, or do you want me to go?
go for it, but it's yours.
So in all honesty, we started with a kind of very distinct concept for that video, and we sort of hit a wall as a band and got a little bit frustrated with our own progress on that. We reached out to our friend Marcel, who we hired to direct the video, and we just gave her free license to do whatever she wanted. We kind of talked about some of the themes behind the song. We obviously shared the song with her and the lyrics, but we gave her free reign. We said, "This is your video. We're handing over everything to you." And she created not only sets from scratch where she like painted the floor, put up scaffolding, created a whole like room within a room, but it got all of the extras, hired all the actors. Like we did absolutely nothing for that video. Like we showed up and we did our performance and just let her kind of like craft a really great statement. So for us, it is the most well-received video we have ever produced. Just the amount of streams on YouTube, it's like over 250,000, and we just released it last month. So like for us, those are really good numbers, and it's very encouraging. And we would love to work with Marcel again. She's a great up and coming filmmaker in Oakland, and she's also just an amazing person and also an amazing musician. She's a bass player and a singer in a band called Vorlust that our bass player Avinash plays drums in. So it's all connected.
Will this?
I want to add something to that. There's an interesting background story with this album. I think we just got lucky with the other two albums, but with this one, we had to do everything literally twice. Like we did this album twice. Like we had a full album that we actually trust because we didn't like it. Like we kept some songs and we started over. So we did the album twice. Then the photos we did twice. We did the video twice also, which is something we haven't told before, that we actually did a full production video that we worked for months that we didn't like. And then Marcel came in and really saved us because he did that whole video that you see that came out so good and had such a great impact on the album. It was done in 1 week, I think, something crazy like that. So she saved us at the 11th hour, really, and she brought all her amazing taste and ideas, and it was again going back to that. This album is such a community project. Like all the bands that we played with are somehow on this album. All these ideas we saw from other bands doing on stage after us or before us, like we took so many things from them, and then all these people that actually worked on this album, like Adam from Dark Meditation, who did the cover, Marcel brought her magic, like all these people brought their own things, and we are four people in the band, but really this is a much larger scope project than the 4 people in the band.
You didn't mention that we did the cover twice also.
Oh yeah, we definitely did the cover twice, yeah, of course, yeah, and we did pay for both covers. So
Adam's covers are the second cover.
Yeah.
But I think that also speaks to this larger idea of just like there's a community there which has always existed, independent music, independent heavy metal, especially in the Bay Area, that's always been there. But I think it was just our first real opportunity on a larger scale to reach out to all these people. And like Van said, the connections we made on tour, the connections we've made in the community here locally, it's just, sometimes you got to ask for help. Sometimes you got to find somebody that can do something better than you and be like, I don't know how to make a music video. Marcel, can you make us a music video? And she's like, hell yeah, I can. So yeah, it's just, I think, and it's just so reassuring and like rewarding to be a part of that community and really just, feel the love of it. It's a beautiful thing. We love it.
That's why it takes years to make an album, right? Because you make everything twice.
Yes. If we could figure out how to do everything once, we would
make it great
every year.
Okay, are you gonna release any other lyric video maybe before the album release?
Yeah, we also trust our lyric video. Yeah, we did a lyric video we didn't like, and we're not gonna put it out. No, we're pretty
doing it
strict
twice.
with what we're doing. So we're gonna release a new single next week, I think, of the Mystic. This is a very important song for us. I hope it is for everybody else too. And then the album is coming out in 2 weeks. We're hoping to do more things. We'll see. We're also focused on the touring aspect of this, and all the costs have to be taken into account about that and all that. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, now I'm interested about the tour because I am in Chicago. I am on the East Coast. You guys, you are on West Coast. So are there any thoughts? Is there any possibility to see you guys?
So let's just say that we've because we're a West Coast band. We're in California. All the touring we've done has been on the western half of the US. A lot of it around festivals like Hell's Heroes, and because we know a lot more bands out here. But let's just say that we know that the next thing we have to do is on the East Coast.
Yes,
and that we're not ready to announce anything yet. But let's just say it's going to probably be on the other half of the country because we haven't been there yet. So yeah, we're getting ready to announce a whole bunch of things very shortly. But we really need to make it to the East Coast. We really need to make it to Europe.
Yep.
And those are our goals coming up.
Yeah, I would also add that don't go to Greece on the 25th of June.
What?
Don't be anywhere other than Chicago on the 25th of June. That's what I'm going to say. Something important is going to happen.
I think why?
Specifically for you.
Okay.
For you, yeah. Like, I would say that maybe we're going to be there. I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, let me think. I will check my agenda, man. I don't know.
Yes.
25th of June.
Patrick, anything from Serpents of Dome?
I wish I had more to report. We actually, after we released the first album, we demoed an entire second record that was like finished and ready to go, pre-production. And then Kyle, the main songwriter, relocated to Oregon, where he lives now. And then he's been focused on, he has a few other bands up there now, Decrepacy, which is a death metal band. And then he has a band called Negative Prayer, which is kind of like a crusty punk metal band. So he got a little distracted. Our goal one day is to record our second full length and release it. So that's still on the radar, but no plans yet to do it, unfortunately.
Okay, fair enough. So you guys, did I hear you correctly? You are demoing the fourth one?
That's right, yeah. We've been demoing it for a long time, I don't have the numbers right now in front of me to tell you exactly when we wrote the songs for this album, for the current album. But I know that the demos that we're working on right now, we wrote them in 23 and 24. So, yeah.
That's the first
Sorry?
That's the first try, right?
That's the first try. I mean, yeah, hopefully it's gonna be only one try. But yeah, it takes time. So yeah, it takes time. It takes different seasons and all that. I know it sounds a little bit weird, but it does.
No,
You need to write songs in different eras through the year. You know, you can't write the whole album in the summertime. It's gonna sound kind of the same. Yeah, I think we're down to, we have a lot of songs, like I don't know, like 50 or something, and then I think right now we're down to like 13, 14. But then again, some songs might be cut because we're just annoyed by them or they don't work. So we might write more. I don't know, but I think we're not that far off.
So when you discard the song, it's being discarded forever, lost to oblivion, or do you keep it in a drawer, maybe use it for another time?
We've definitely recycled some riffs for sure. There was even, I think, things that were demos from the first record that they'll crop back up again. And it's something where like it can be a good idea, but it just might not work at the time. It can be a good idea and it might just not work with the rest of the parts. So we have brought riffs back to life, and it's pretty fun when you can do that and it works in a new song and it just takes on a whole new life and a whole new personality. It's pretty cool.
Excellent.
Zombie riffs.
The song "Carry On" is one of the songs that we tried to finish for the previous album for Crony and Moon, and we couldn't figure out the chorus it was just, yeah, we couldn't do it. And we finally figured it out for this album, and we're very happy with it.
Well, for a lot of things or issues or problems that you have in mind, sometimes when you let the time pass and you revisit, things sound and seem clearer.
Yeah.
Totally. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I hope to see you soon, Nis. And is there anything else that you would like to add that I forgot to ask?
Any last words?
Final words, last words.
What did we forget?
Last Blade. I'm just going to say it again. Tour announcements coming soon. Album release announcements coming soon. More things on the horizon. The album will be released. It may be released by the time this interview comes out, but it's March the 14th of 2025. Will be available on all platforms and from Season of Mist.
Yep.
Yeah. And on June 25, you and Maria are going to have a guest list somewhere in your city. Just pointing it out. Save the date.
Save the date.
You will save the date for us. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
All right.
Great rest of your Friday.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.